Greetings, everyone. Welcome. My name is Miriam Quesada, a coordinator with the Parliament of the World's Religions, and I will be moderating today's webinar along with my colleagues Molly Horan and Madeline Averill. Excuse me. Is everyone hearing me okay? This is just a quick sound check. Feedback here. Okay, is that better? Can everyone hear me? Feel free to answer it on the chat box. Okay, great. So I see some hand raises, so I'm assuming you all can hear me great. All right, so let's get started. So on behalf of the Parliament of the World's Religions, I want to thank you for joining us today and welcome you to the Parliament's World Interfaith Harmony Week webinar series. Throughout 2019, the Parliament will be convening successful interfaith organizers as guests of our webinar series. These speakers will share about their World Interfaith Harmony Week experiences in order to help fellow organizers around the world become inspired and knowledgeable when planning celebrations. In the first of the webinar series, we are joined by Aftab Ahmed, the manager of the World Interfaith Harmony Week Prize. And now we're going to have Molly Horan introduce Aftab.
Good morning, everyone. I would just like to welcome you and say thank you to Aftab. Aftab Ahmed was the director of the Royal Islamic Strategy Study Center in Jordan from 2010 through 2013. This organization is involved in numerous religious and interfaith conferences and publications, including supporting the Amman Message, the A Common Word, and the World Interfaith Harmony Week initiatives. Aftab currently manages His Majesty King Abdullah II of Jordan's World Interfaith Harmony Week Prize and is the managing director for the annual publication, The 500 Most Influential Muslims. Aftab joins us today from London, England, and will share a special look at the background of World Interfaith Harmony Week and the prize selection criteria for World Interfaith Harmony Week events.
Thank you, Molly. Before we begin, I just have two quick announcements. First, please be aware that this webinar will be recorded and published online as a resource by the Parliament for your convenience. Second, we will be having a Q&A section toward the end of the webinar, and you can submit your questions through the system. But if you are having issues submitting your questions, you can email them to me at Miriam, M-I-R-I-A-M, @parliamentofreligions.org. And now, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Aftab Ahmed. Aftab, are you with us? Sorry about that, everyone. It looks like we're having some audio issues with Aftab. Let's see if we can get that resolved very quickly.
Okay. Hello, can you hear me now?
Hi, Aftab. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Well, I'll just repeat greetings of peace to everyone who's listening, and thank you for joining us, and thanks to the Parliament of the World's Religions for putting this together and the whole series about World Interfaith Harmony Week. The talk is divided into three. I'll just talk briefly about the background to the World Interfaith Harmony Week, and then I'll talk about the World Interfaith Harmony Week itself, and then finally I'll talk about the prize and how that's come about. Right. So most of this information, or at least some of this information, you can find on the website, and the address is there, worldinterfaithharmonyweek.com. So if we just we'll start about the background, and really just to let people know that the World Interfaith Harmony Week hasn't just come from a vacuum, that there have been many other initiatives which have come out of Jordan, which try to promote harmony, and really it's just sort of like a natural step that the World Interfaith Harmony Week has been initiated from Jordan. Just three of the initiatives I want to mention. The first one was called the Amman Message, and it was launched in 2005, and this was an interfaith message of harmony to the Muslim community. It was prompted by a particular event, an attack in Amman which killed many people, and I suppose the reason for this message was to respond to this violent extremism which was being carried out in the name of Islam, and whose victims were and still are mainly Muslim. So His Majesty King Abdullah asked Prince Ghazi, who is the chair of the Royal Al Bayt Foundation for Islamic Thought, to try to gather as many leading religious scholars as he could from around the world, from all schools of thought, and then to try and issue a statement addressing things like who, theologically speaking, is a Muslim, who can and can we not make takfir on, and make takfir on means call an apostate, and then who has the authority to issue fatwas. So this was very successful. The message has been adopted and still is being used within the Muslim world as a message of sort of combating people who try to hijack the religion and try to promote extremism and sort of hate and violent extremism. So that was one message. A couple of years later, another message came out from Jordan, and this is an interfaith message. This was a message for Christian leaders, so it was addressed to Christian leaders, and again it came about because of a particular event which happened, which was Pope Benedict's address at Regensburg, and that sort of heightened some of the tensions that have been there between Christians and Muslims. And the initial common word message was written by 38 scholars addressed to the Christian leaders in 2006. That didn't gain that much traction, so a year later in 2007 it was sort of rewritten and more scholars signed up. I think 138 religious leaders and scholars wrote this letter, which was an invitation for dialogue, and based it upon we say biblical commandment, but really commandment which is common to all religions, love of God and love of the neighbor. This has been a very successful interfaith message, and many initiatives and meetings have sort of spawned from here. The Catholic Muslim dialogue, with many publications, and I think it's one of the most successful interfaith initiatives this century. One other initiative I want to talk about, which is on the next slide, is about the baptism site of Jesus Christ. Now, this is in a space between Jordan and the West Bank, and this area was mined, so it was a militarized zone until 1994 when we had the peace treaty. And then after the peace treaty, when this area could be demined, we had certain authorities from Jordan, including religious leaders and political leaders, investigate this area and bring in the archaeologists to try and locate the exact the baptism site of Jesus Christ. So after a lot of excavation, I mean, they found lots of things there, lots of remains of churches and monasteries and caves and lots of evidence. And after several years, we have we've concluded, it's been sort of shown that this was actual baptism site of Jesus Christ. And many Christian leaders, I think all of the Christian leaders of the main churches have come. 3 popes have come and visited, and lots of letters of authentication. But also what I want to highlight here is that this piece of land now, the Jordanian government has given over to the trust, the Baptism Site Trust, and there are churches being built in this area, 12 churches representing different denominations, and they're being built for the purpose of allowing pilgrims to come to the site of the birth of Christianity. So just to highlight that, again, I mean, how Jordan promotes harmony and how Jordan has sort of looks after other religions and other sort of minorities within its country. So this background gives you an idea of that, and then it sort of comes as sort of no surprise that the World Interfaith Harmony Week was proposed by King Abdullah at the United Nations General Assembly in September 2010. And then Prince Ghazi further proposed it, delivered it at the UN in October, and that's when it was adopted. So the World Interfaith Harmony Week is based upon the common word statements of love of God and love of the neighbor, but to widen this you could say circle of harmony to other religions apart from Islam and Christianity, and also to people who don't follow religion or spiritual traditions but are of goodwill, to include as many people as we can. The message was extended to love of God and love of the neighbor, or love of the good and love of the neighbor. And the purpose here really was to ask the UN to have an observance day or an observance week, whereby people who believe in these statements, who share these values, could show, I mean, they have a platform here to show these statements in action, as it were. The UN gave us the first week of February every year as an observance week for this, and it's a platform really to highlight all of the good work that's already being done by many interfaith groups and many other organizations in this field, to try and bring them together. Okay, we've deliberately tried to keep this a decentralized initiative, so it's not owned by anyone. There isn't a controlling committee. And also, in fact, we don't. A lot of people keep asking us, is there a particular theme for this year, or is there a particular event that we should attend? But none of that is there. The only thing in common is that it's this week, the first week of February. That's for the UN resolution. But as you see in the next slide, that those dates are extended, and it's based upon love of God or love of the good, and love of the neighbor. So try and draw upon your spiritual traditions, on your religions, draw upon all the messages which promote those, and try and promote these messages to your flocks. Another important thing just about the World Interfaith Harmony Week was in the proposal that we're very careful to say that it is not about syncretism. We're not trying to create a new religion. Yes, and obviously if anyone understands what religion is, we know that it's not man-made. So we do want each religious tradition to respect itself and present itself as it is. There should be no compromise, no feeling of anything's being watered down, but a recognition of the principles that are there that join us together. I mean, that's what we want to highlight. So that's always a careful balance, but there's always questions that are asked. Right, if I suppose move on to, that's the World Interfaith Harmony Week, and then if I move on to the prize. So to support this World Interfaith Harmony Week, which was first observed in 2011, the Royal Al Al-Bayt for Islamic Thought in Jordan established a prize in 2013, and that prize is now known as His Majesty's King Abdullah's World Interfaith Harmony Week Prize. We've extended the dates for when events can take place, so we don't just look at events taking place in the first week of February. We've extended it, in fact, to the entire month of February, and also actually the last weekend of January and the first weekend of March. So it's really to allow as many people as possible to participate, and especially small organizations who maybe for some reason couldn't get an event together in the first week of February. So we've just sort of widened it as much as we can. There are 3 prizes, and we're looking for. I'll talk about the criteria in the next slide. But the 3 prizes first prize is $25,000. Second prize is $15,000. And the third prize is $5,000, plus a gold, silver, and a bronze medal. And probably most importantly, you get invited to Amman, Jordan, and you receive these awards from His Majesty King Abdullah. The practicalities of this, the logistics of the prize are all on the website, but you have to register your event. And now this year we've asked for you to create an account. So we revamped the website a bit. So you have to create an account, and then you register your event, and then you have to submit a report. And I think we give a link to everyone who is an account holder. We give them a link at the end of February, and they have to submit a report. What that report looks like, I'll also go into in a minute. But just if you go on the website, you'll be able to see reports of all previous winners. They're still listed on the website, and in fact, not just of winners. I think of all people who have entered, who have submitted a report. We've kept it on the website, so you can see. What they've done. The report basically includes obviously a description of the event, the impact it had, the objectives of the event. It should include some photos and video evidence, media evidence, some testimonies about people. So we get different. I mean, the reports people submit vary from 2, 3, 4 pages to about 20 pages. But I mean, bearing in mind that the judges do look through all the reports, it's probably best not to do too detailed a report, just enough to give us an idea of what the event was about, and just so we can deal with that. Some of the previous entries I've included very simple events like just having breakfast with people of different faiths, having a screening of a movie or something, and then sort of go to more events dealing with sort of social action, helping the homeless, maybe health drives, maybe then holding seminars on understanding different aspects of the tradition. We've also had lots of entries to do with, exhibitions, musical arts exhibitions, concerts, and other things which sort of promote the message of the World Interfaith Harmony Week. Also in schools carry out activities and to try and understand people of different backgrounds. So really you can have sort of, very broad event. And again, if you look on the web, you'll see examples of all these type of events that have been held in the past. So I think I'll just say a bit about the criteria. So we've got 7 judges. So the chair is Her Royal Highness Princess Arish Ghazi, and then we've got Patriarch Theophilus, Patriarch of Palestine and Jordan. We've got Sheikh Ali Goma, ex-Mufti of Egypt, and Bishop Munib Iman, Shama Sayyid, Father Nabil Haddad, and Dr. Minwar. So they're all either in Jordan or just sort of based close to them. So these are look for. So one of the, I suppose, most important thing is, of course, that the event or series of events, many people do hold sort of an event on each day of that week, but it doesn't have to be a series of events. But the event or events should really are specifically for the World Interfaith Harmony Week. So they're not just sort of a general interfaith event. They are looking at, they are there because of the World Interfaith Harmony Week. So that's an important thing. Of course, we look at things such as excellence of effort. So how well planned it was, or what the impact was of the event. Look at collaboration. That's very important. So have people reached out to other organizations and other communities and got them involved. They do, one of the factors has been in terms of, is it a sort of conflict zone as well, some dangerous areas. So one of the winners, I think a few years ago, was from Pakistan, and in the particular area he was promoting interfaith harmony, there'd been a lot of attacks against minorities. And so he was very courageous in what he did into trying to promote the message of World Interfaith Harmony Week. Also, the judges do look at the size of the organization. So, if it's a very small organization, maybe just half a dozen or a dozen, volunteers at that organization, the judges do recognize that these organizations are very, very important. And even if they hold a simple event, that should be considered. That's a big factor in terms of they don't have many resources, but we appreciate the volunteers and efforts of those volunteers and to see what they've done in their local area. Also, they do look at organizations which have consistently held events over a number of years. So I think last year's winner from Australia Centre in Melbourne, Helen, she's well known for having obviously been in this field, worked tirelessly for Interfaith Harmony for the last 2-3 decades or longer. So they are some of the criteria that the judges look at. I think really that's probably about all I want to say for the time being. I hope that's just given a sort of quick intro overview to the World Interfaith Harmony Week and to the prize, and just a few things about the background. Most of this information is on the website, so you can sort of follow up there. But I'll be happy to answer any questions that may be posed now. I think that's my email address, aftab@risk.jo. So I ask you to use that if you have any questions. You can email me there, or I think I'll give you some questions now.
Great, thank you so much, Aftab. Okay, so we're going to start the Q&A section of the webinar. If you would like to raise your hand, you can do so on the software, and we'll start the Q&A. It looks like we have a question for Kamal Yildirim. Hello? Right, so it doesn't look like Kamal is available. Okay, so we have another question from Dr. Jajesh Shah, and I will connect you right now. Dr. Jajesh,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have a question for Aftab Ahmed. Can any
Yes,
individual
hello.
can any individual register for that, if not an institution?
Can an individual register for the prize? Yes.
Yes.
You don't have to be an organization. Yes, you can certainly. I think
I am organizing at least 4 to 5 interfaith event seminars, workshops,
Yep.
counselings around the year. So can as an individual I can register?
You can certainly register. I mean, we'll only for the prize. We'll only look at the events that are being held in the month of February, or from the last weekend of January to the first weekend.
I have already organized one event on 26th January, the Republic Day of India, in the conflict zone of Baroda city.
Yes.
I am going to organize a flag hoisting ceremony, inviting all religious heads from Hindu, from Christian, from Sikh, from Jain, from Buddha, from Islam, and the Maulvi will hoist the flag, Indian flag, national flag.
Yeah.
So can I include the 26th January?
That sounds wonderful.
26th January.
I'll just have to check on our website actually what is the exact dates.
Okay.
I forgot, but it's the last weekend of January,
the last weekend,
and the whole month of
February is the last weekend.
Yeah. Okay, then that should be fine. Yeah,
it's a Saturday.
Yeah, that'll be fine. That'll be fine.
Last weekend.
And in terms of that's fine. And in terms of individuals, I think in 2015 the second prize winners were 2 individuals in Germany who organized an event which was linking different places of worship. So they managed to get thousands of people out and formed a human chain linking different places of worship in Germany. And there were just 2 individuals who did that. So that's no problem. You can certainly enter.
Great, thank you. Next, we have a question from Reverend Dr. John Polakowski.
Are you asking, do I have a question?
Correct, yes.
Well, what do you feel the religious community can contribute to the process of political harmony in the region?
Right. What can the religious community contribute to political harmony? Is that what you said? In the region or in the world?
In the region.
And you're obviously talking about the Middle East region.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think, I mean, obviously it's a very complicated affair in the whole region. We have had many initiatives. I say many initiatives. We've had some initiatives in Jerusalem, for example, which really is a very complicated area, politically speaking. And I think, the political solutions will only come when there are enough individuals who sign up to, certain ideas of how to move forward in a peaceful way. So it's a small impact. But I think, case by case, individual by individual, something is coming about. And again, I mean, in the purpose of the World Interfaith Harmony Week, if we have 10, 15, 20,000 events registered in this week promoting love of God, love of the neighbor, love of good, love of the neighbor, then I think it can contribute to other people in the political field who want to work towards harmony. So I mean, I think it can always contribute. I mean, everyone's efforts, we believe every individual effort is worth something, and sort of aligned with other people, we can sort of work forward. It's not obviously a short-term solution, but we hope obviously for change, for positive change. I think that's all I've got now.
Thank you, Aftab. The next question we have is from Henry Milstein. Henry? Hello? All right, so it doesn't look like Henry's available. Reverend Joy Ellen Lipsky, do you have a question for us?
Say comment. So I'm the board chair for the Silicon Valley Interreligious Council, and we annually participate in the Interfaith Harmony Week Compassion Games. And we've been doing that for quite a while. So, you know, in order to participate in the, you know, potential prize, we would need to try and see if we could gather the information from the compassion games. But more importantly, at this time in the United States, I think it's problematic for an American to win this prize and want to go to Jordan and return. So have you made any accommodations around that?
Well, I mean, why is it problematic for an American to come to Jordan?
Because of our travel restrictions.
Right. Okay, I didn't realize there were. I mean, I understand the travel ban, but I didn't realize that was for Americans not being allowed to travel to Jordan. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, I think people would tend to think twice about traveling.
Well, I mean, you can, you know, Jordan has lots of tourists come, lots of people come from North America, and you know, there's one sort of perception that people get about traveling in the Middle East and certain countries that is sort of built up by maybe some of the negative media or some of the events that happen and sort of reported by media. But then the reality of traveling in those countries is very different. And I think if you go into some travel websites and just see the testimonies of people who travel there, you'll see that there's not an issue. And of course, if you won the prize and you came as guests of His Majesty, then it would also be a very different experience. So I don't think you have to worry about that. It's a very beautiful country. There's lots of things to see. It's a real must to try and come to Jordan, whether you win the prize or not.
Great, thank you for that question. Next we have a question from Aisha Bucks, I believe. Aisha?
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
So I'm from Melbourne, and I sit on the board of, I actually am the founder of this festival called Salam Fest, which was primarily started because I just saw my family's been in Australia for the last 150 years, and the level of Islamophobia right now over here is I've never seen that. So I mean, we thought this is not who we are, and we started this festival to show people what the real true values of Islam are, which are peace, love, and compassion. Now, all our activities are around how Islam sits with other faiths, and we do have dialogue with other faiths, whether it's the Abrahamic faith or other faiths, to see that common message. Like one of the directions we're taking is we look at the message that was sent by some of the other faiths, and how similar, not in a warm fuzzy way, but in a very specific way, what the similarities of the original scriptures were. Yes. So my question to you is, we necessarily don't work, like we do interfaith activities, but it's all in a context of how we sit with other faiths. Would that classify, although we do but it's always got that, you know, this is how we're trying to make sense of it as how we sit in with other faith traditions.
Yes, certainly, yeah, for sure. I mean, the World Interfaith Harmony Week is sort of showing your love of God or love of the good and love of the neighbor. So that's how you manifest that. So it doesn't necessarily have to be an interfaith dialogue here or there. It's just within your specific religious tradition, how those particular messages are manifested or communicated to other people within or outside of your own tradition. So I think, what you just said sounds fine, sounds very good, and would certainly be within the criteria. Yes.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, it looks like from Elizabeth Ziegler. Elizabeth?
Assalamu alaikum from Austria. First, I want
salam.
to say many thanks for your work, because we attended the World Interfaith Harmony Week in the year 2011, and we organize events every year since then, and it's always a great pleasure for us and a great inspiration. So thank you for your work. This year, we want to invite all participants to an idea, and that's my question, if I am allowed to do that. Because we have very good experience to invite people to write loving thoughts on eatable paper and send it with the rivers to the landscape, to the ocean, and to think about that the sun is making clouds of it who can travel all over the planet, and somewhere and sometime they will rain blessings and feelings of friendship from our little town behind the mountains. So, and this is our event for this year, and we will invite all Austria, of course, but through the United Religions Initiative, CCs all over the world, also other people for this idea. Thank you very much, and all the best. And
well, good luck. Yes, good luck with studying. That's fantastic. Well done. Fantastic work. Thank you very much.
I hope there is a lot of rain of friendship about over Jordan. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Let's check in with Doug Cooper. Hello, Doug.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can. Yes.
Yes, so since 1950, the Baha'is around the world have been promoting World Religion Day, but it is in the third weekend in January, so it's coming up this weekend. We have 3 events around the Toronto area. I'm wondering if Harmony Week would expand the dates to include World Religion Day.
Right. Yeah, that's something I'll obviously have to ask the committee about. But that is something we run into where certain countries also have national interfaith harmony weeks, but are just 2 or 3 weeks off our particular dates. We've expanded, as I said, to the first week of March and last weekend of January. I think it's a good idea what you've said, and I'll certainly put it forward and ask people. I think there's no reason why we can't expand it any further. I suppose it'd be good to expand it to 12 months of the year, but then it'd be difficult to sort of judge everything. But I'll certainly put that suggestion forward, and hopefully we can incorporate that as well.
Thank you. I have a quick question, Aftab, actually.
Yep.
It comes in terms of the price criteria. Is there a preference given to events that are hosted from February 1st through the 7th, or is it very much open from the timeline of the first weekend?
No, yeah, it's the timeline that we've given. So there's no, it's not favored. There's no extra criteria, extra marks given to the ones which are held between the actual UN observance week, the first week. So if you hold an event in the middle of February, at the end of February, you'll be given the same weighting.
Great. All right. Let's see. I think I see another question from Rosemary Perry. Rosemary? Are you there, Rosemary?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, good. Thank you. First, I'd like to say thank you very much. It's very nice to hear a live voice explaining things and transmitting the energy of a good intention. And I would also like to thank you for highlighting the phrase love of the good, because I think this is infinitely useful around the world, because there are a lot of good people who are perhaps disaffected Christians or from any other religion, and they have that good core, and to bring them together is a wonderful thing. I'm in a rather remote part of West Cork in Ireland, and we moved here just a few years ago, and a very small community, so I'm going to do my very best. I'm just currently writing an article which I hope will be accepted by the sort of southern part of County Cork, an article to highlight this and to engage anybody within the vicinity of where I live to come along and do whatever we can. I'm thinking I will just make myself available on a number of days. But thoughts of a prize are far from my mind. I will be very glad if I can get anybody to come.
Well, I mean, those sort of initiatives, I mean, they are the crucial ones. That they're the ones that make up, I think, the whole, World Interfaith Harmony Week. In individual initiatives and things that you just mentioned. I mean, if that can be repeated, around the globe, I mean, that's the thing that makes a big difference, really. So thank you very much for that. That's sort of inspiring to hear what you're trying to do. That's great.
Okay, thank you. Next, it looks like we have Amir Hussein. Amir, are you with us, Amir? All right, so it looks like he's muted. Let's go ahead and see. There's someone I haven't called on. Mohan Lal. Mohan, are you there? It looks like some people might have issues with their microphone. Let's see. Dr. Alexina Mehta, are you there? Hello?
Oh, hi there. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you so much. This is very inspiring. I'm really happy to be part of this worldwide initiative with my spiritual community, and we honor all faiths that speak about the power of love and the power of inner peace. And so our idea is to gather various spiritual leaders in the community, and also people like myself that are love all traditions. I've always been drawn to every tradition for the beauty and for the love that tradition shares. And so our idea is to come together and honor these spiritual teachers in the community in the various faiths, and then also to bring forth different people like myself that have always been drawn to multiple faiths. And we plan to have a dialogue to share about the commonalities between us all, and how we can honor and respect and celebrate the essence of the heart, which is what connects us. And so I wanted to say that we have the community aspect, and then we also have the leader aspect. And so how does that fit with the criteria?
Yeah, no, it sounds fine. I mean, obviously, one of the things I mentioned was, I think, about syncretism. So I think it's written in the paper that the World Interfaith Harmony Week is not about creating a new religion, not about syncretism, getting aspects of different religion and forming a new thing. That it's not about. But of course, what you've just mentioned, about bringing leaders and representatives of the tradition and recognizing the beauty of each tradition and having them, voice that. I mean, that's fine. I mean, that's what it's about. Each tradition, of course, has its own particular beauty, and I suppose that maybe the more inward you go, I mean, obviously there is commonality as we're all part of humanity, and this is what the week is trying to highlight. Love of God, or love of the good, and love of the neighbor. We certainly have those principles in common, and there are other sort of shared values. So to highlight those is great. Sounds like a good event. Yeah.
Great, thank you. The next question here is from Abraham Karikam.
Yes.
Abraham?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, yes.
Yeah, thank you. I am Abraham Karikam from Kerala, South India. I am chairman of Karikam International Public School, and we have been celebrating World Interfaith Harmony Week from the very beginning. Every year we organize big peace processions, interfaith quiz competitions among school students statewide. Last year we had 80 students participating in the interfaith quiz, etc. Poster procession, etc. So my question is that I don't know any other program like this which has so much impact in the world, especially because of the UN support and all. Do you have a mechanism to measure the impact of this celebration, its contribution to developing the world harmony? Because for 7 or 8 years we have been celebrating this. Do you have any assessment of the whole celebration around the world?
So do we have an assessment of the impact that this World Interfaith Harmony Week initiative has made over the last 7-8 years? I think is that your question? Yeah. No, I suppose we're not really into the business of measuring too many things, but just some of the initiatives that we know we sort of feed off each other. So we know that the Common World and World Interfaith Harmony Week, obviously there's a link there, and we see things like conferences and publications and how it's used. Otherwise, specific events, I mean, we just keep them on the website and you can see that. But I suppose, I mean, that may be one area for us to work on, to look at, to try and measure its impact. But it's that requires time, and measuring things which aren't immediately tangible is a bit difficult. But we get some idea. I mean, just with the number of events that are held, and then some of the messages and correspondence that comes through, and then also messages from sort of different levels of government and organizations as well. So we do get an idea, and we do feel that it's sort of gaining traction year upon year. There's definitely more and more people taking part.
Great. So it looks like we have another question from Reverend Joy Ellen. Joy Ellen?
No.
Okay.
I'm good.
Looks like your hand is still raised, so I'm just checking. So let's see. Kamal, do you have another question for us? No? All right, it doesn't look like it. Does anybody have any other questions for Aftab, or since you have us here for the Parliament as we're celebrating World Interfaith Harmony Week? Let's see. Oh, it looks like we haven't checked on. Bob Hansen, do you have a question for us?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Sarah, I just want to thank you for the work that you've done and are doing, and your connection with the Parliament of World Religions. It's a powerful organization, and I think working together like this can do nothing but be a help to many people. I really don't have a question, because this has been really wonderful just sitting here listening. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for that comment. Yeah, it's great when like-minded people connect. I think that we will get a buzz out of that. So that's hopefully we can carry on doing that.
Thank you, Bob. Amir Hussein, do you have a question for us? It doesn't look
Actually, this is Molly in the office here at the Parliament. I have one question, actually two questions before we conclude this morning. One would be, Aftab, because you are in the thick of it and thinking about World Interfaith Harmony Week probably all year long, how do you project into the future a successful growth of World Interfaith Harmony Week? What kind of, beyond just the impact, what kind of expansion do you see? Do you hope to see more government institutions taking on acknowledging World Interfaith Harmony Week, or are you looking more of a grassroots movement sort of taking it forward?
Well, both really. I mean, I think to date we've had maybe 9 or 10 states or cities also declare a World Interfaith Harmony Week within their state or city. So I think the first one happened in Philippines, where the government took it in one of the states there, and I think in Canada in a few cities, and maybe still in a few cities it's happened. Also, one of the winners last year, I think, was from Indonesia. It was a government department, so they obviously have ample resources, but they managed to get together a sort of huge number of Muslim preachers in the thousands, and then they asked them to take on board this message and go to their, to their congregation, to their flocks, to push this message out. So that would impact millions of people there in Indonesia. So that we thought that was very good. So I mean, we hope those things happen. That's a governmental level, institutional, high level. But of course, I mean, we're always looking for the grassroots. I mean, the grassroots are the grassroots, and those small organizations and individuals. We want to try and encourage, and we know for them, of course, I mean, the prize money can be sort of very important as well. Help them, for the next couple of years. We had a prize a couple of years ago. It was a family of 5, and they feed the homeless every week, I think, or every fortnight, and they upped their effort during February to coincide with World Interfaith Harmony Week. So the prize money went to them, and that sort of helps them continue for the next couple of years. So both grassroots and a state level, it'd be good to have more countries, more states adopted. We've tried to get in touch with, I think it's called the United Cities local mayors. There's a huge organization where all the mayors of the world gather. I forgot exactly what it's called. So we've been trying to get in touch with them and sort of ask them to take notice of this, adopt this, and try to promote it within the their own cities. But we haven't managed to get that yet. So I mean, that's something I'd hope we can sort of choose next couple of years, 2-3 years, because once organizations like that adopt the message, then really it sort of impact lots and lots more cities.
That's excellent, and we did see that was a very successful model, at least here in the United States, with the Compassionate Cities campaign. It was introduced at that sort of organizational level for mayors all across the country. And I'm so happy that you again turn to talking about the prize money, because that's sort of a comment I wanted to conclude with from my end. We hear some feedback sometimes that our organizers who are connected to the Parliament around the world are a little resistant to applying for the prize because they don't want to conflate their sincere intentions of promoting Interfaith Harmony Week with any sort of sense of greed. Yep. But I want to say it's important, I think, for these opportunities that interfaith activists have to be recognized. I think it's an unsung movement in the world, and so these instances are important, and also not to be shy about being proud of the work that is being done, and do consider that prize money an investment in the work that goes forward, so that this work can continue to build momentum, and more resources are always better. So I just want to give a word of encouragement, especially, and thank you for pointing out the scarcity of resources is a consideration in the evaluation of the prize, because I'm sure some people may not apply because they just think, what do we have to offer in our small town? But the committee does actually go ahead and pay close attention to those efforts as well. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Molly. I had a question. One of the previous year's winners had planned to join us, but it doesn't look like they're online. And their question was, do you recommend that past winners still submit event reports? They assume that they are likely not going to be eligible for the prize, but do you recommend that they still submit reports for their events?
Well, I mean, what we found is, I mean, I think this shows that the judges have selected the winners well, in that we always find that past winners always submit events in future, and they're usually better than before. They're probably thinking, okay, because we won last year, we're probably not going to win this year. But I mean, it shows that, I mean, their entries are not for the prize. I mean, they are genuine people who really want to promote the message. So they, they're doing it. But there's no, policy or no sort of reason why they couldn't win the prize again, and a different prize. There's no policy for that. So if they make something even more spectacular, yes, why not? It'd be nice to see them again.
Well, thank you so much, Aftab, for answering all our questions. We are around 11:01 Central Standard Time, so we are going to be closing this webinar. Thank you, everyone who has attended, who asked questions and participated, and of course to Aftab for joining us from his busy schedule and answering all our questions. In terms of closing, I just want to invite participants to join us for future webinars in the World Interfaith Harmony Week webinar series. We are going to be hosting Reverend Ellen Summers from the Interfaith Center of Melbourne, who were the first place winners for last year. And then we will also have Reverend Michelle Singh in February, and she also was one of the leaders that won the first prize a previous year, and they've actually gone ahead and have this whole committee dedicated to celebrating World Interfaith Harmony Week in the city of Toronto. So we'll be learning a great deal from them, and we invite you to participate.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.